Hello, everybody. Welcome to another daily dose of gaming news and all that good stuff. And as always, I'll also publish on Rumble and on Patreon for extra support. And if kind of updates I usually go about on Twitter X. Later will be, I think I will be able to publish a Planet of Lana episode. And as usual, a quick reminder that I already have a complete gameplay series here on the in playlists on the main page of the channel, plus other stuff that I already did. So let's go to the news. Not much happening. It's Monday. Usually it's a slow day regarding news. But it seems that we already seen some laptops with GeForce RTX 5090s coming about. And it seems that, again, they perform, again, 50% lower than the desktop version. Again, it's not surprising, mainly because in terms of power limitations, I think usually the laptop manufacturers did manage to find a kind of the sweet spot in terms of how much power budget that they have between the CPU and GPU, which is around 300 and something, if not mistaken, which leaves, if you have a very powerful GPU on a laptop, to have almost half of that budget balance for the GPU. And in some cases, around 160 watts to 175, if not mistaken, for the GPU, depending on, again, on the laptop and how what kind of CPU is paired with. Even though the only positive thing that I can see here is the fact that they only perform 50% of a desktop GPU by consuming a quarter of the power there, which is something very interesting in terms of power efficiency. But yeah, don't get fooled as usual with these laptops. The fact that it has mentioned that it has a 5090 or even 5080. By any stretch of imagination, unless it is a low a low end GPU, let's say on the 5000 series, unless it is probably a 5060s or maybe 5070, you can squeeze a little bit good performance out of the power budget that usually laptops deliver. Again, just forget about it. Spending all that money just because you will have supposedly a 5090 chip on a laptop. The only thing that, again, these new GPUs bring, especially from NVidia GPUs, is the fact that they can leverage, not better, but they can leverage the regarding older laptops, the DLSS4 features, especially the transformer model, which basically lets you play upper resolutions at decent frame rate, supposedly. But yeah, 50% less performance, consuming a quarter of the power. Again, it seems interesting, but again, from what I understand, I think this laptop GPUs with 5090s will go up $2,500 or more for sure. I don't think it compensates you having kind of this laptop, even if you are a person that really needs a laptop to, because you need a laptop to go around places. You cannot afford to have a desktop. I think you might as well put your budget in other things regarding a laptop. But yeah, it's interesting to see that again, the NVIDIA tries to brand 5090s on a laptop by just cutting in half the performance there. And continuing with NVIDIA, we're continuing to see the driver situation here. I covered this last week. The fact that the newest drivers from NVIDIA really are showing that there is a lot of issues with RTX 40 series and even some of 30 series, especially in gaming. We got the occurrence of a lot of black screens. Again, the same issues that the 5090, the 50 series had in terms of software related. Again, I'm not talking about manufacturing issues, but the black screens, the not recognizing the GPU itself, a lot of loss in performance on games and all that jazz. And even now, some developers are really doing some recommendations regarding which version of the GPU drivers from NVIDIA you should be installing here. We got from games from Inzoi, which is kind of a seems like kind of a game there, and the first Berserker Kazan, which is seems to be a very excellent game. Again, what they are recommending overall, basically, with the 50 series, again, just put the latest drivers and everything should work out well. Regarding 40 series, they really do recommend at this moment the version 566.36, which was released in December 2024, which I think it's the latest stable version for the drivers before the launch of the 50 series. Which again, that really start to compromise the RTX 40 and 30 series in some aspects when it came out. And on the 40 series or earlier, usually they recommend the latest driver. But if any kind of issue comes about or still persists, they recommend to roll back to the same driver version that was released December last year. Again, it's one of those things that leaves consumers and possible consumers when they see these things to be on a back foot regarding buying a GPU from NVIDIA. Because unless you still have this, you have a lot of troubleshooting at this moment in time, trying to figure out what is best for in terms of software, what is best for your hardware. And the fact that even if you can buy a 50 series, you will probably still be dealing with the possibility or missing ROPs or any kind of shenanigans that might happen that are still not ironed out from the driver stuff there. But yeah, it's sad to see this kind of things. The fact that when the 50 series was launching, we saw a lot of issues, especially from the NVIDIA app coming about, and they just focusing on patching the things on the 50 series, and they left the 40 series behind, because when they start pulling out this kind of updates on the app, basically the already older customers were left behind on any kind of problem that arose from January on the app itself, which is sad to see. And from AMD, we got supposedly a first report of a 9950 X3D CPU not booting. Again, this comes on the ASRock's X870 motherboard just after 9 days of use. And we'll be seeing this pop up here and there with AMD, mainly on ASRock's boards. But I think it has to do probably with maybe the chipset of the board, if not mistaken. But we saw this one with the 9950 X3D, which are the most recent ones to be launched by AMD. In this specific case, the person just returned the items. I will assume that the problem was resolved through the REMA in this case. But yeah, very interesting to see this because we already have some issues specifically with the 9800 X3D. At this moment in time, somebody did manage to collect all, mainly from Reddit, all the posts that people were complaining, and we seem to have around 100 cases of dead Ryzen 9800 X3Ds. Mostly, again, comes from ASRock's motherboards. In some cases, the CPU didn't even run for an hour. Again, we got a lot of stuff here that we can try and probably troubleshoot here. It seems that the most incidents occur again with ASRock's. Again, the chipset seems to be 800 series motherboards, which includes X870, B850, and in some cases there seems to be some issues with 600 series motherboard, but the bulk of the issue seems to be with ASRock's as a manufacturer. Again, I'm not sure, given that even ASRock did launch a new BIOS for everybody to upgrade. Again, some of them might not have the most latest BIOS when they tested this. But yeah, it's interesting to see that we didn't see huge amount of official statements regarding this. I think somebody needs to delve a little bit deeper on this situation if they can manage to do so. Again, I don't see just one entity just trying to collect plus 100 CPUs to try and test them in different motherboards to see what might be the main fault around here. But yeah, interestingly enough, I think it's a case that probably some error there. And the fact that the 9800 X3D is selling like hotcakes, um, again, thousands of units per day are sold. And in any kind of mass production product, there's going to be a certain amount of products that will have a defect that might be unrecoverable. That product might be unrecoverable and fail. Uh, I think we probably, hopefully, it's something like this that a percentage of these CPUs are. As this product is mass manufactured, is CPU very high in demand. Probably a lot of these cases are the fact that they don't go through the cracks in terms of quality assurance. I don't know, and or they pass the quality assurance and but they are like dead on arrival when they reach the owner's hand. I don't know, something like that. It happens, especially on hardware of PCs, and the fact that we have internet access at this moment, and the fact that people are paying attention to this kind of things, given that is very recommended and in high demand CPU, people are more sensitive in this kind of situations. Probably is a conglomeration of all of these factors. That some of them, we saw some of them that just blow up out of nowhere. Might be some PBO stuff there that might happen there in terms of software, and then was corrected. Then, but then some of them continue to die. This might be the fact that again, some of them will always going to be dead in a matter of a few hours of utilization, something like that. And the fact that this is, if you have a product like this selling for thousands of units every day, it's bound to happen, unfortunately. I just hope that anybody that encounters this kind of situation can resolve this by just returning or using RMA processes to quickly solve the situation. But the fact that maintains that it seems that a lot of these situations come from ASRock's motherboards. Again, might be something that usually ASRock's tend to be a cheaper brand. I don't know. I'm not sure if people are trying to save some money on the motherboard and trying to get a kind of a higher end motherboard from ASRock's, and then save a little bit of that difference between brands and buy the 9800 X3D. Again, I'm not sure because again, there is no study on this so far. But yeah, it's something to be aware. And again, it seems that no, the even major brands that manufacture motherboards are not safe, because we saw a couple of cases, or at least some cases, of ASUS, MSI, and Gigabyte motherboards happening. This also, but the it seems to be pointing out that again, this CPU also. It's one on the higher end in terms of power utilization. I'm not sure if there is any issues with power delivery components on the motherboard, something like that. Again, it can be affect variations of several things when they put themselves in a certain situation. This tends to happen more or not. Again, it can be a lot of things and can be a conjunction of several, or can be all the above there. But yeah, something to pay attention to. And keep your eyes peeled. Again, usually, if when you set up a system or you assemble a PC in DIY, try on the first boot, try to update the BIOS. Again, usually these, especially higher hand motherboards, have you can use a USB stick as a flash to flash the BIOS to the most recent version, and then just put everything on default on the first run, see if everything goes well, and then you can start. I don't know. Usually, with AMD, you usually try to tighten the clocks on the RAM itself. And I usually don't use PBO unless probably if it is an older CPU that you might need to squeeze a little bit extra juice out of it. But yeah, usually it's the default settings that I usually use. As soon as I can, I just update the flash, I just update the BIOS, sorry, and afterwards I try to tighten the RAM timings and frequencies, and usually that's it. I usually don't try to tweak too much, especially on what we can perceive lower end motherboards. But yeah, I never had an issue in any use case scenario from the 20 plus years that I've been using PCs. I usually try to stick with the default settings. I can tweak some now with these later iterations of hardware that came out. I usually tweak around a little bit on the timings of the RAM, and basically that's it. I don't try to do any kind of shenanigans per se, trying to overclock too much stuff. I usually, even on the GPU side of thing, I usually tend to use a balance a balance profile that is come from default from the adrenaline software. But yeah, unless the hardware is getting older, then you might want to try and squeeze out extra juice there. But I don't see if you're if the hardware is corresponding supposedly what it should be performing. I don't see any reason to overclock out of the gills on the hardware that you already bought there. But yeah, interesting stuff to see. And then I just have something regarding gaming. We have a little bit more information regarding Onimusha Way of the Sword. Again, interesting franchise. I remember playing at least Onimusha 3. I think it was Onimusha 3. Got the ninja at the time. Again, I better remind this. And then you play on the timeline, on the present timeline with Jean Reno, or the character played by Jean Reno. I remember vaguely about that. It's been 20 years since we got the last Onimusha game. And we got a little bit more information regarding kind of how long should we take, and the fact that it's going to be more linear, that what people might expect. Supposedly, regarding the producer and the game director, they basically said they are aiming to take around, I don't know, 20 hours to complete. They are going to try and focus this on something more linear experience, so it's not going to be an open world. And again, I think it has to do a little bit by the fact that it's like the first game from the series that in 20 years, so they are trying to cater for older players that play the games and for new players that are probably trying to be introduced to this franchise. Again, we got a little bit more information regarding that the timeline will change. So supposedly it's going to stick on the one timeline. The location may change, although it's going to be mainly focused on Kyoto in the early Edo period. Again, the main character will play Musashi. I completely forgot the complete name, but you play as the legendary samurai slash philosopher Musashi. And it's not going to be a super challenging game. I think they are trying to aim there, trying to find a balance so it's not very difficult, because the Onimusha games were could be a little bit stiff, have a stiff learning curve. I think they want to adjust this to be accessible but challenging. It's always a fine line to try and walk this. They are also not sure if they're going to introduce any kind of difficulty levels. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see again. This will come next year. I think they are still just trying to trick around this kind of balancing situation here for the game. But yeah, the setting again is being completely reimagined, sorry, including the Oni and the Genma clans. As such, there is essentially no direct connection to previous installments, which also helps again to introduce newcomers to Onimusha franchise here. Again, they are trying to separate themselves a little bit, but use the main points from this IP to, again, it's interesting to see. It's one of those that again, there are a lot of dormant franchises that I think could get a fresh look, given that the again gaming evolve from at least 20 years from now, that's for sure. And maybe some revisiting. Again, I think we can dispense a little bit the remakes and the remasters. Been missing this throughout the years too much. I think a fresh look or a kind of a different approach to certain IPs could be more positive than just remaster and remake the same games over and over. But yeah, this is what I got in terms of news. Not much happening, as I said. Monday, slow day. In terms of gaming deals, we got a few ones. We still have Hogwarts Legacy, 75% off. We got Atomic Heart. I played the demo. I did do a recording of the demo. It piqued my curiosity here. We got some. It goes around for some game mechanics. I don't think we saw everything on the demo regarding the game mechanics, but at least gives you a sense what this game is trying to do. And at this moment, is 67% off on all editions. Then we got No Man's Sky, again, 60% off. Again, the latest update is Relics, which is kind of archaeologic kind of a style game mechanic there, which is interesting to see. On GOG, we got Baldur's Gate 3, 20% off. We got Deus Ex Human Revolution Director's Cut, 85% off. Again, this got a stamp of approval from me. And also the same thing for the sequel. I usually recommend Digital Deluxe Edition. Got some extra playable content there with that edition. Then we got here Forgotten End. This is a game that I'm curious about. The setup is very interesting. It's imagine a place where everything that is lost and forgotten does. Old toys, letters, single socks. The Forgotten Lands is a magical world inhabited by Forgotlings. Again, this is kind of the spiritual prequel for the upcoming game, The Forgotlings, which you play as this character here. And again, it's got a correlation. It's not a direct sequel or something like that, but it takes itself in the same universe. And again, the fact that this game is so cheap and it's kind of a 2D platformer kind of a game there, as you can see here on the screenshot, seems very interesting. Then we got also Jagged Alliance 3, 50% off. We got Prey, again, very underrated game. I do recommend it. I did a gameplay series on this one. If you're curious about it, you can check at least the first episode to see how it goes and to get a feel of what this game has to offer. And it's 80% off at this moment in time. We got Sharpunk, turn-based combat. Seems pretty difficult. I played the demo. I think I published the demo that I played there. And it's interesting, and it's not an easy game. A lot of management and survival mechanics are in place here, but I really do recommend this game from what I played from the demo. Then you got the Evil Within one, 75% off again, and also the sequel, 80% off. I do recommend both of these games at this price point. I did a gaming series of both of them. If you want to have any kind of curiosity regarding this game, again, check the first episode to have an idea what these games are all about, and maybe make a decision to buy the games or not. And then lastly, we got Wolfenstein series. We got the 2-pack, which is the Old Blood and the New Order. 75% off this pack. And then we got Wolfenstein 2, the New Colossus, which is the sequel. 85% off. This is the Digital Deluxe Edition. It's got some the season pass, which got some extra content that you can play with. Yeah, it's one of those that you kill and punch Nazis all over the place, which is always fun. But yeah, I'll wrap up here today with a plug on my Patreon as usual for access support. The access support at this moment in time is for me to try and focus on a better storage solution so I can have backups of the stuff that I do for my clients, and of course some extra space for the videos that I do for the channel. And with all that said, I hope you have a wonderful day. Now I'll see you in the next one. So until then, Kunamy Master out.